Mm, Jaggerative.
We are all addicts in our own ways. Some of us scroll on our phones every time there's a spare second, tapping and swiping like we're searching for a lost treasure in an endless feed. Others are drawn to comfort foods until the bags and cartons are empty, convinced that one more bite will patch that subtle emptiness we feel inside. Still, others indulge in substances that shift consciousness, drugs that pull them into an altered state and supply that coveted flood of dopamine. In fact, every fleeting meme we consume is basically a micro dose of dopamine. Sometimes we're so hooked on these little hits that we need more and more just to feel normal. It's like we're collectively carving a deep groove of habit, training our minds to chase these highs the way water flows along an already well worn path. And as we keep chasing, the threshold for pleasure rises. What used to light us up becomes passe. Things that once made our hearts race no longer carry the same spark. It's that tricky vortex that keeps calling us back, like a pit with no bottom. Take porn, for example. If you're used to the soft stuff, eventually you might want something edgier. Or if it's career goals you're hitting, maybe going from $1 million to 10 million is suddenly the new baseline. Greed is insatiable. It's a hallmark of the swirling illusions we get stuck in. And in that swirl, we get so impatient, like we want everything delivered in a snap, the way Amazon taught us to expect deliveries within a day. A slow website can throw us into a mini tantrum. We forget about dial-up modems from back in the day. Now, if something takes more than 2 seconds to load, it feels like the entire cosmos is out to get us. Some of us try to numb or slow down this jumbled momentum in other ways. With doom scrolling, we may take in so much raw information that our minds never get still. We see the world's drama condensed into a single feed: war, heartbreak, hilarious memes, political outrage, celebrity gossip, just an unstoppable swirl of content. And when everything is swirling in our heads, it's no wonder conditions like ADHD rise. The mind so noisy that simply focusing on a single task feels like a Herculean labor. You start a project, and next thing you know, you're checking texts, scanning the fridge, or drifting to random daydreams. It's insane how we identify with these passing thoughts as if they're truly us. But it's more like we're stuck in a well lit cave watching shadows dance on the wall, mistaking them for reality. We forget that behind those shadows is something more real. Call it the soul, call it spirit, call it pure consciousness. In yogic traditions, it's said that our thoughts are less personal inventions and more like waves in a universal ocean of ideas. Yogananda talked about how these thought forms float around in the ether, and our minds just tune in to certain frequencies. It's not that these thoughts belong to us, they're more like energetic broadcasts. The dilemma is that we cling to them, adopt them as part of our identity, let them define how we feel. We become so inundated by random mental chatter that we're only genuinely thinking, willfully, a tiny fraction of the time. The rest is just noise swirling around aimlessly. That's why solitary confinement feels like torture to most folks. No distractions, just an unstoppable reel of mental gunk. But to a seasoned meditator, that solitude might be a dream come true, a chance to watch the mind's chaos from a distance and eventually let it settle. What we all crave at the end of the day is a sense of wholeness, bliss, peace, or what the Taoists call wu wei, effortless flow. Top athletes call it the zone. A surfer riding the perfect wave isn't overthinking each move. They just become one with the water. If they think too hard, should I shift my foot here or there? They wipe out. Real flow has no mental friction, no forced exertion. It's a place beyond sense-driven pleasure. Sense pleasure is that honey-laced poison, a spike of delight, then the crash, then the longing for more. Ironically, the deeper wellspring of happiness is inside us, independent of the five senses altogether. It's a direct path to joy, no middleman required. You want love? Approach the source of love directly rather than pinning all your hopes on a single person to fulfill you. We often turn to relationships, money, or achievements to deliver us that sweet nectar. But sooner or later, we learn that no external situation can replicate that inner bloom of joy. For some people, psychedelics like Mother Ayahuasca offer a fleeting glimpse of that state. Think of it like taking a helicopter up to the mountaintop. Sure, you see the stunning panorama, but you haven't done the climb on foot. You haven't built the muscles, the resilience, or the discipline. Shortcuts can show you the peak, but the real treasure is in the journey itself. Still, those shortcuts do have a place. They can give you a sense of what's possible, a reason to keep going when the mountain trail gets steep. Ayahuasca, in particular, can clear out layers of emotional baggage, like the dam that's holding back the river. Once the dam is gone, water or energy flows freely. For a moment, it's euphoria, but if you keep relying on that one method, you risk forming a new addiction, chasing the trip instead of cultivating steady, everyday clarity. Those blockages we carry are basically vortices of stuck energy. Experiences are meant to flow through us, happy or sad. They're just impressions. Ideally, we would let them go right after they happen, continuing on with an open heart. But instead, we cling. We identify with them, replay them, embed them in our psyche until they become part of our identity. It's like loading boulders into our mental stream. Each boulder takes massive effort to hold in place. Eventually, you have got a river barely trickling because we've dammed it with all these old stories, grudges, heartbreaks, and fantasies. Ayahuasca can blow away those boulders in a night. But in day-to-day life, the discipline of letting go, prayer, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, can do the same over time without the side effects. The challenging part is patience. We're so used to instant everything that when we realize the spiritual path might take months or even years to bear fruit, we go, nah, I'm good, and slip back into comfy habits. The hero's journey, as many myths depict, involves heeding the call to adventure, stepping beyond ordinary reality, and facing trials that test our resolve. Each time we confront a demon, whether that demon is an addictive behavior, an emotional wound, or a negative thought pattern, we either shy away or grow from it. Every step forward is an expansion of consciousness, a rung on the cosmic ladder. Yes, we get detours. We stumble, maybe for lifetimes if you believe in reincarnation. But once you've tasted that mountaintop, even if only for a second, you usually come back. Eventually, you will stand triumphant, having integrated the challenges, returning with the elixir that transforms not just you, but everyone around you. This world, though, is famously called Maya in yogic traditions, an illusion or cosmic dream. We see only a narrow band of frequencies through these five senses, so we assume we're experiencing reality as it is. We see a solid table, but at an atomic level, it's mostly space. We perceive motion in a film, but it's actually a series of still frames flickering rapidly. Consider how immersed we get in a movie theater. Two major senses, sight and sound, are engaged, and we forget we're just watching flickering lights in a dark room. We let ourselves be pulled in because it's entertaining, and for those 2 hours, we're living that story. Similarly, God projects this cosmic movie we call life, and we get lost in it, forgetting to look back and see the projector. That's how powerful the delusion is. In modern times, we've got a new metaphor. The simulation. As technology evolves with virtual reality, it's not far-fetched to see how easily our brains can be fooled. If every sense can be artificially stimulated, how do you know whether you're in true reality or a simulation? Like in the Matrix, the signals come into your brain and your brain weaves an entire world out of them. Does that make it any less real? Or is all reality, including so-called normal life, just data processed by our nervous system? When you peel back those illusions, you reach the universal truths that saints, sages, and masters have been singing about forever. Yogananda spoke of God's dream. Jesus spoke of the kingdom within. Buddha described the emptiness that underlies all form. Same truth, different windows. We get hooked, though, on the world's version of wine, sex, and money. Yogananda pointed to these as three of the biggest chains binding us to this realm. Wine includes everything that numbs or intoxicates, the ways we try to escape the moment. Sex is that fundamental desire tied to our strongest sense cravings. And money, of course, is the ultimate abstraction. It's literally a collective agreement that this piece of paper or digital number is valuable. If nobody believes it, it's worthless. Yet we chase it as if it's the gateway to all that's good. Some of us really think that snagging certain material things or stacking physical experiences through money will give us that feel of happiness. Well, it might, but only temporarily. Eventually, as Yogananda points out, it all collapses into what he calls an anguishing monotony whenever we keep chasing happiness through mere worldly pleasures. Tied into that is the story of the forbidden fruit in Genesis. The craving for sensual experience, maybe it's taste, maybe it's knowledge, causes the fall from grace, from that original state of oneness. We want to know, to experience, to taste. Ironically, it's that very curiosity that propels the journey. We leave the garden to find ourselves back in it once we realize what we truly are. The garden never disappeared. We just stepped into illusions that we were separated from it. Our minds can be such tricksters. They try to convince us, I can't do this, or I can't resist that. But it's often not a matter of can't, it's a matter of won't. Imagine someone trying to quit smoking who claims they can't stop. But if you wave $1 million in front of them, yo, don't smoke for the next 3 hours and the check is yours, they'll probably figure out how to resist. That means they do have control. They just need a strong enough incentive. The question is, what if that incentive is freedom from suffering? What if it's the feeling of deep, abiding joy that can't be bought or lost? That's the gold medal we can train for, just as athletes spend years prepping for a single moment on the world stage. The teachings also say there are 4 aspects of mind: man or pure awareness, buddhi or intellect, ahankar or ego, and chitta or feeling. At first, you simply see a thing, pure awareness, no labels. Then intellect gives it a name and concept. Ego identifies it in relation to itself, my horse, my lake. And finally, we attach a feeling about it. I'm sad because my horse ran away. Yoga is chitta vritti nirod, which means yoga is the neutralization of vortices, of feelings, not by becoming a zombie devoid of emotion, but by dissolving those clinging attachments to every passing whim. When our hearts are free of clutter, the cosmic energy flows up our spine without obstruction, and we feel light, enthusiastic, and open to love. The more junk we store, anger, resentment, heartbreak, or even obsessive longing, the more blocked we get, the more we sink into darkness and lethargy. Practical yoga or meditation helps us actively clear these blocks before they cement themselves. It's like clearing away each pebble or boulder from the river in real time so the water never stagnates. Yes, substances like ayahuasca or other psychedelics can vaporize huge piles of debris in one go, but the path of repeating that over and over can breed dependency, creating a new loop of chasing experiences. The more stable, albeit slower path is daily discipline, noticing each emotional wave as it arises, acknowledging it fully without pushing it away, and letting it pass through. Over time, the channel stays open. You don't build a new dam every day, so you never need a catastrophic flood to wash it out. Of course, the path can be winding. You'll likely face a slew of siren calls dragging you off course. Random obsessions, old traumas, new temptations. You might wander into entire side quests that you thought were your life's mission, only to realize they were illusions you had to outgrow. But that's part of it. Even the lost detours can deepen your insight because once you realize you're off track, you return with fresh wisdom about how easy it is to get lost in the labyrinth of desire. The only real failure is to never seek again, to give up hope. But most times, once your soul has glimpsed that higher vantage, even faintly, you can't unsee it. you'll find your way back, weaving through plateaus and leaps in progress, traveling sometimes in slow motion and sometimes in quantum jumps of consciousness level. The physical realm has its laws, but they're not absolute. Think about how each major spiritual teacher tries to show us that matter is malleable. Jesus walked on water. Yogis have been rumored to manifest things out of thin air. At an advanced level of consciousness, these feats can happen because the interplay of energy and matter isn't fixed. That might sound wild, but quantum physics hints at the same. Everything is patterns of energy that we interpret as form. Still, none of that overshadowing illusions means we should dismiss the physical dimension. It's a stage for the soul's evolution, like a cosmic gym for growing spiritual muscles. The real liberation is to see through the illusions without denying them. You can engage in life fully, but with an inner sense of detachment. Money? Sure, earn it, spend it, use it to help yourself and others, but don't confuse it for your source of happiness. Relationships? Cherish them, love deeply, but know that true love arises from within. No one outside can grant it or take it away completely. Substances? They can teach, they can harm, they can amuse, but be mindful they don't hijack your freedom. The mind is a brilliant servant, but a terrible master. We have dominion over it, or at least we're supposed to. Yet it flips the script on us all the time, persuading us that it's in charge. Mindful practices are ways of reasserting our rightful bosshood. Every time you choose to meditate instead of binge watch that new series, you're reminding the mind that you're in control. Each moment you stay present when your phone pings and you decide, nah, I'm finishing this thought first, you chip away at the tyranny of distraction. Eventually, you notice you don't get pulled around by every random impulse. You can rest in stillness, watch thoughts come and go, and respond from a place of clarity rather than reactivity. And that's real power. Not the power of armies or bank accounts, but the power of self-mastery, the ability to steer your mind, to open your heart at will, to sense God's presence in every breath. That is the holy grail every hero eventually seeks, the treasure that is everywhere, yet found nowhere but within. It's the same as the nirvana Buddha pointed toward, the kingdom that Jesus said is within you, the Brahman that Vedic seers praised. You can see this unity spoken in so many languages, yet it's one truth. We could label it universal consciousness, cosmic love, the divine source, or we could be silent about it altogether. Either way, it's a knowing beyond words. So, how do we bring these abstract ideas down into daily living? Let's add some examples. Maybe you're in traffic, running late, stressed out. You notice your mind building frustration. Get out of my way. I'm going to be late. Why is this happening? That frustration is a mini boulder you could place in your river. Notice it and choose. Do I let this frustration pass through me, or do I cling to it? The difference is night and day. Or consider another scenario. You just got harsh feedback from a friend or coworker, and it stings. You can take it personally and allow it to lodge in your sense of self. Or you can step back, see it as data, and let it pass. Every time you do the latter, you free yourself a bit more from the illusions that weigh you down. Then there's the daily addiction to our devices, sacrificing sleep or presence in the real world to stare into screens. Next time you feel that urge to doom scroll, you could pause, place your phone face down, and breathe. Realize you are not the compulsion. Again, observe the feeling without letting it define you. Maybe you stay off the phone for an hour, and in that hour, you discover a deeper sense of peace or creativity that emerges because you didn't drown yourself in digital input. Each small action is a step on the hero's path, forging new neural grooves of mastery and presence. When we do slip or regress, we can remember that's part of the learning arc. The hero in the story always faces setbacks, moments of despair, confusion, false peaks. Ironically, these low points are often where breakthroughs occur because they force us to reflect and recalibrate. So if you find yourself binging social media again, or procrastinating, or anxiously chasing validation, you can use that moment to reflect, why do I do this? What's the real need I'm trying to fill? Am I seeking love or peace in the wrong place? Eventually, this self-inquiry shines a light that frees us from even the most ingrained habit. Some of us might find that worship or prayer helps, calling on a higher power, on God, Jesus, Krishna, the universe, whatever resonates. Aligning with a divine presence can give us strength when our own willpower feels puny. Others might lean on their chosen spiritual path or mentors, or even the healing environment of nature itself. You might walk through a forest and realize, I'm part of a grand tapestry, not just this anxious bundle of nerves. Seeing the sky stretch on forever can put your current worries into perspective. In each of these practices, we're letting go of the illusions that keep us bound, letting the infinite flow wash away the grime. It helps to remember that the journey is cyclical. You might gain a higher perspective, live in that bright awareness for a while, then slip back into old patterns. And that can feel defeating if you see it as a linear path that you just fell off. But hero myths remind us that there are multiple trials, multiple returns, multiple transformations. You're never really done because consciousness keeps evolving. Sure, you climb one peak, soak in the view, but guess what? There's a higher summit in the distance. The big difference is that at each stage, you carry more insight and more compassion, especially compassion toward yourself. You realize you don't have to wage a harsh battle on your mind. You can gently retrain it, like you'd guide a puppy, not scold it ruthlessly. That kindness can be the subtle superpower that helps you keep going, no matter how many times you slip. And if you're worried about losing momentum, just remember that the deeper part of you wants freedom more than anything else. Maybe not your everyday thinking mind, but the core of you, that silent observer who knows truth when it sees it. You can hear its voice in quiet moments. Sometimes when you're lying in bed, sometimes when you're out in nature, sometimes in meditation or prayer. That silent witness is the hero, the champion behind all the illusions. It's the real you that was never truly addicted, never truly broken, and never truly stuck. So yeah, we're all addicts, chasing something to quiet that longing. But the biggest plot twist is discovering the longing itself was a clue to lead us home. It's the call to adventure, the cosmic signal that says, yo, there's more to life than this endless chain of cravings. If you heed that call, you'll step onto the path. It might be bumpy, full of curveballs, but you'll see wonders along the way. You'll meet allies, face villains, maybe find magical boons, be they teachers, epiphanies, or even powerful plant medicines. But always remember, the final stage of every hero's journey is returning to your ordinary world with the elixir in hand. In real terms, that means coming back from the mountaintop or the ceremony or the revelation in meditation and applying what you learn, living it out in the middle of daily life, in traffic jams, in career hustles, in relationships. That's how you know the transformation is real. It's integrated, not just a blissful memory of some ephemeral high. Underneath it all, we want union with that infinite wellspring. We get glimpses of it in love, in creativity, in the wild beauty of nature, in the hush of deep meditation. These glimpses remind us that truly we are made of that substance. Call it God, Brahman, cosmic consciousness. We're just wearing these human costumes for the sake of the journey. So let's honor the path. Let's harness the mind instead of letting it harness us. Let's watch out for addiction's pitfalls, but also see them as mile markers of learning. Let's not be so hard on ourselves that we forget the joy of simply being alive. Indeed, we're all addicts, but we're also all heroes. We wrestle with illusions, but we also have within us the power to transcend them. Maybe that's God's plan all along, to hide infinite light in finite creatures so we have the adventure of rediscovering our true nature. And once we taste that nature, we become unstoppable in our quest for deeper unity. With each step, the illusions become a little more transparent, and the realness of love, peace, and divine presence becomes more tangible than ever. Thanks for listening, fam. Stay open-hearted, and may that cosmic flow guide you to the top of the mountain. again and again until you can't help but see that the mountaintop was inside you all along. Om. Peace. Amen.